Hi, everybody. Welcome to The New Normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. Well, welcome to 2026. We made it. Thankfully, our buddy Skullcap SaVant is back. We're going postal in 2026, but apparently it's starting a little later than most New Year's. Scott Besant made an announcement. We're going to play that. And we've got some letters from the USPS talking about some changes in 2026, but none of that's going to happen until the 26th. So I don't know what's going on here, but Ben will be right back with us right after this. So jump in the live chat, but give us a like first and share the video. We'll be right back right after this. Happy Woo Year.
Yeah, is that what it's going to be called? Is that a moniker people are throwing around?
I don't know. It's
Happy Woo Year.
It's year one, because 2026 is 2 + 2 + 6 is 10. So if you reduce it down,
oh, numerology wise,
yeah. And
I have a different take on that actually. If believe it or not, Batman related. Beast egg from back in the day,
okay.
But
interesting.
It's interesting because, well, I have a weird kind of almost theory about how the prescience of our psychic nature was evolving at the time. Cliff High even, I think, was the first one to talk about year zero. Remember that?
He talked about year zero was what, 2020?
Yeah.
Or was it 2019 was year zero, and then year one was 2020?
Well, it became part of the VSTEG assumptive framework. I was like, well, this is weird. People are starting to refer to this actually. It's kind of a reset. The reset was really being tossed around. And I think usually when eras are drawn up, like we even have before Christ. How many years before Christ? Yeah, there are these seminal points in time that so change us. It seems maybe we've done this always, humans, where, oh wow, okay, well, Christ was such a big deal that now everything after that just needs a new naming convention for the years that we chronologize, right? And the idea that I think if humans 50 years from now look back on all the change that will befall humanity between now and then, if they go back, they can probably pinpoint maybe year zero or ground zero, year 2020, as the new point by which to, yep, we're just going to call that year zero because everything was so fucking wackadoodle from that point forward that year one is going to be 2021 and year two will be 2022. And I really do think we'll probably see something like that. Oddly, there's a whole Batman series, year one, year two, year three. And then they went back and they did a year zero comic too. And it was weird because I was lining stuff up in those comics. If you go back to those decodes back then I was doing, year two, inside the storyline, the president of the United States is fake and is wearing a mask to fool everybody, for instance, and so it was just wild connections like that were just part of the narrative of our zeitgeist. And I was just lining up kind of the clues, the big riddle that was at play, right?
Yeah.
Batman has the Riddler, in fact. It's one of his I argue that all of his villains are actually himself. It's a psychology drama kind of a thing. And it's why it's VSTEG. But anyhow, yeah, just a side note, just to note, I think that might be the case. I don't argue for it like a diet on a hill for it or anything.
Right.
Interesting you bring it up, that's all I'm saying.
Well, that would make sense. I mean, like a new BC before COVID. And
yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Maybe that's what they do. Just funny enough, it would work. That we could just do it. Funny, yeah.
It could. Because people do talk about, that was before COVID. And now that these, revelations are coming out and things are changing, the CDC, I mean, they're actually not recommending, or they're making them prove that a vaccine actually, you have to prove that it works to have it approved.
Right. And
They're
they
taking
banned a
them
bunch of
off
them
of,
from the schedule, right? They just
yeah, they
took.
changed the schedule for infants now. So it could be literally actually the Great Awakening, and a before and an after.
Well,
So
there's a lot of fraud in the school system. This, the daycare stuff with Somalia. Everybody's aware of this. We'll get our little Somalia thing out before we dive into the VSTAG here, because it's in the zeitgeist too. Everybody, some shit happened since Lisa and I have talked, least of which is just in the last week with Venezuela getting invaded to snipe Maduro out of there and take care of, it seems, voting fraud and precious metals fraud.
mm-hmm.
Even huge, big parts of the playing board. If you think about that as a CCP controlled operation, which it was, and the United States is now starting to build their Gulf of America perimeter. Chinese Communist Party's captured the West Coast, as far as I'm concerned, with the war already. You fail to recognize it because you don't see that it's a battle for your mind, not a battle for actual territory yet.
And Sean had told me years ago, we looked into how many ports on the West Coast of the U.S. owned by China. Mm-hmm. And it was shocking to me. But there were many, many ports owned by China on the West Coast of the U.S. covered.
In the Northwest, actually, there's a lot of Japanese interest actually in the Northwest, which is different than Chinese, way different. In fact, Japan is being rearmed right now. This is a huge deal. It's escaping everybody's attention because everything else is happening here. But do you know why it's significant that Japan is rearming itself and being allowed to?
I mean,
they were banned from this after World War II. They were allies with Germany, remember?
Okay.
So Japan has had like a cap on its productive capacity, especially as it relates to engineering things of weapons of war and things to this nature. They have a unique mind, the Japanese do, for engineering in a specific way. Like, I mean, just look at everything that comes out of there just spontaneously, even with these embargoes on their mind. They, the whole video game industry rises out of there, and home entertainment, Sony, for instance, and all the electronics brands. It's all fucking Japanese, right? So they're entering back into the playing field here with this recent Trump visit. In fact, was really, really key, with some markers that he and Japan are working together, it seems, in this capacity, both monetarily to eliminate the yen carry trade. There's something going on weirdly where they're unwinding the yen carry trade with while silver's rising, right? There's a lot going on in markets. And all at once, Japan can rearm itself. And we are seeing them get kind of aggressive with what China's claiming to do with Taiwan in the near future.
Yeah.
Japan's like, well, you're going to have some problems if you start to do that, and because they're re-entering the actual geopolitical realm in a militant way, which they haven't been allowed to do because of the peace treaties and shit. And they're embargoes that they were placed under after, not even embargoes, but international law was placed on top of them.
Okay.
And to break these pacts is, an act of war in and of itself, right? That the UN would come slap their hand with, right? The US is pulling out of the UN. As far as I can tell, it's all over. The UN experiment is gone. And the United States is having to enter into a détente with Russia and Japan and maybe even, again, like, there's a weird battle within China. I think the Li family is behind a lot of this. The Li dynasty, Li, is how. So if you go back in time to China, this is how it's always worked. The dynastic rule of one of the powerful families makes a move, and it topples fucking everything. And that's the playbook. So I think you see this inside of China itself, and the CCP, which is just a tendril of Israel, right? If you look at it this way, Israel can't fight all these fronts anymore. Their tentacles are getting chopped. Japan's no friend of Israel's. That's for sure. So anyway, it's all very interesting. It's weird that we have an Israeli president still in Mexico. That's still got to resolve itself somehow, right around the Gulf of Mexico territory.
I wondered if that would be before or after Colombia.
What's that?
And Cuba. Would that be before or after Colombia and Cuba?
You
right. know, which domino would fall or would take care of itself or turn on each other in that situation. I don't know.
Well, nonetheless, this is all like it has to do with the themes of East Egg that we'll get into here on the basis of Oz and metals manipulation and controlling your mind for all of these things that we point out, time, because silver is right at the heart of it there with the Venezuela thing. The Postal Service, which we're going to get to now, is part of it. The whole Somalia thing, I think, is part of it too, where we have fraud now being detected within the constraints of, the normal ass operative systems of the United States, childcare. We're going to start to find that this was only the first domino. I think the next one to be investigated because it's connected to childcare's fucking school systems. I don't even think you and I have talked about what's coming out with the school system fraud and with how that's all developing, have we? I don't think.
No, we haven't.
We just haven't talked probably in 6 weeks, it seems. So let's paint this picture too before we get into the steganography and the ritual aspects, which we like to show people too. But we have a lawsuit down in Texas that has to do with real estate property taxes. And on the surface, it just seems kind of like a plain old, on the surface, it's just part of, an industry full of strife, real estate. And people are trying to sue each other for this and that, right? It's kind of how it's painted. But no, it's gone to the Supreme Court in Texas now, and it might go higher because this scheme actually that I'm about to tell you about of why the lawsuit exists in the first place is probably prevalent in more places than just Texas at the heart of it. Part of the fraud and home building has been to overcreate housing structures for the immigrant population. Now that the immigrant population isn't going to be living in those places, and we're even going to be kicking more of them out, there's a huge inventory vacuum. I mean, there are 50 million homes that are open and available, and the prices aren't coming down yet for some reason. So one of the reasons is because of there's another piece of fraud that, again, daycares, leering centers, as it's part of our popular culture now. It's fucking hilarious how sloppy it all is. But these are connected to the rearing of the children that eventually feed into the school systems that also suck on the same tits of funding that these leering centers are going to get. So after what I suspect is going to happen, Lisa, is ICE is going to clean all this stuff up. Allison tutors these kids. They are everywhere. Her assignments for her, her tutoring gigs, East Coast English language learners is what they call them. We have a whole underserved population of English language learners in this country, and what are we going to do? And so there are all these support platforms trying to bring these kids up to speed because they've just been planted here, either as part of the invading force or part of the the immigrant force or whatever the fuck. They were transplanted here unnaturally, and they can't integrate. Nobody can teach them anything. So there's this whole set of funding also where these platforms and programs are being paid for. The schools are getting these programs granted to them. It's a grant program. Mm-hmm. So back to Texas, back to the real estate side of things that I was talking about, right? So keep in mind, it'll connect back with the learning center stuff, I think, that you're seeing up in Minnesota. But what it boils down to is people are hurting more, huge last 5 years with property tax increases, right? You yourself can probably attest, I'm going to guess.
Well,
property tax
yeah, I
increases?
mean, we sold our house. We have our land, so we haven't built on our land yet. So our property taxes aren't as bad. But our area, once we build, it's going to be incredible because the cities are losing taxes. They are propping them up other places, like Mom's house. Her property taxes went up, and so
there you go.
So they're keeping the housing prices propped up so that the cities and counties will receive the funding. So they don't want the prices to go down, because then the cities and the counties get less money.
Okay. So you just kind of nailed part of the punchline. Somebody needs the money, right? And it's going somewhere. Like, there's actually a very large impetus for the fraud to exist as property taxes increase, because property taxes increase mostly as a correlation of property values increasing. And the thing I was just mentioning to you, it doesn't make any sense. We have a vacated population now of all the immigrants that are leaving. We have 2.5 years of prices that have just been pumped up. They're trying, like Atlas trying to hold the fucking earth up.
Well, Ben, and one thing, can I interrupt you just on one thing?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Trump did address this today or yesterday, that he's not
banning investment of corporations owning houses.
Because that's one of the biggest reasons that these homes have false high numbers, is because what these companies will do is basically just swap title. It doesn't cost them a thing. They're just swapping title.
But think about what they got to do before that, because you're right on the money. But in order to swap title at a key price, what do you first have to do? You got to get it appraised every time.
Right.
So where do you think the fucking fraud is? It's right there in your appraisal officers.
Appraisal office.
The appraisal officers, it looks like, are the ones, when it boils down to it. That's what this Supreme Court case in Texas is all about. Is the appraisers over the course of the last 5 years have gone out with some sort of bribe money. And you have to go to specific appraisers. Certain builders have to use specific ones. I mean, builders are still just trying to keep their inventory from collapsing on them right now too. It's 2008 times.
Cliff talked about these lawsuits. I don't know if it was in his data or if he was already seeing it actually happen.
Oh, really?
People suing because then they weren't able to get the loan, or something about their loan wasn't happening, or maybe
because here's what's happening. They're not going to be able to get their loans back. Here's what's happening, Lisa.
Because
so
the home was being appraised for a false amount.
It was being appraised falsely high, such that the property values could be increased and raise the basis for sales tax, or it's not sales tax, property tax. That property tax increase now gets to be used as capital by the municipality that it's zoned inside of. So if you got a residential community and you got a bunch of these houses that are all of a sudden appraised, say you go, oh, wow, in 2019, these houses are $200,000 a piece. And then now they're worth $700,000 or $800,000 a piece, like 4x, like so many communities did, like all over the South, for no explicable reason whatsoever, other than entities like Blackstone buying them up, Airbnb empires, stupid shit. And of course, a lot of the scheme of those Blackstones to buy up the properties, again, was to hold them on reserve so that the invaders could house in them once they got here. They're not going to be allowed to do that anymore. So that inventory is going to flood back onto the market. That's a consequence to talk about. But the appraisal fraud, raising the houses, because if an appraiser is told to raise property values through the roof, like you saw in charts all the way through 2021 and 2022 and 2023, 0% interest rate and through the roof appraisals on the housing values. They weren't still worth that, but that was what they were getting appraised at. Property taxes increase, the municipal structure of the city that they're in, again, back to that point, is now able to use that increase as a basis to create a bond. So they'll just go make a municipal bond now with that extra capital that they've got, because the appraisal raised the property value and therefore raised their income by way of the property tax. Those bonds that the municipalities were making because of this appraisal fraud all over Texas, at least, Again, I guarantee you it's fucking every state if you really boil this down.
Mm-hmm.
But the lawsuit claims, with all the evidence to back it up, I forgot the case. It's like trying to look it up. I was looking into this a couple weeks ago. And I'm sorry that I wasn't coming prepared to this conversation.
No, you're okay.
But it all connects, right? So go look. I'm giving enough information and context, hopefully, here. The very state to go look it up, and you guys can. I'm not shitting you. This is happening right now. But due to that, they're wrapping up these municipal bonds as performing as per the school district requirements. So their maturity is supposed to be based on funneling the funds into the school district to better raise the quality of education, right? They're supposed to perform in that way, and therefore that money is supposed to be going to the schools to get better teachers, to get better facilities, and it's a butt ton of money, Lisa, because there's the appraisals for 4x a community in appraisal value and the property tax increase and all that shit. I mean, it's a lot of money, and you don't see it going to the schools, because that was clue number one, that something was going on in the first place. What you find out is these bonds are only now going to pay the debt off. They can't even pay the debt off. All of that extra profit, because the market's plummeted, they can't even service the debt that they took on to try and do whatever schemes they were going on with on the side, at least for a couple of years there when they could do it. Now it's all coming apart because property values want to collapse. The free market wants to take over. But this is one of the stopgaps that's preventing it from happening, at least in housing, because the appraisers are still getting paid off somehow, it looks like. The appraisers refuse to appraise a house at a fair value in a lot of these communities in Texas.
Being undone, or just at that one part. I can tell you that even here, so this is how desperate there are a lot of parts that are probably all going to come apart at once. And I think this does lead us back to the postal. And the end of this month, which also points back to, remember, they have to finance all the U.S. debt, and that's all coming due the end of this month, I believe. So that's all the taking time home. But just little personal story. There's small businesses around our town that were having huge sales. A couple of them closed their doors because these local tax collectors, I don't know if they were county or city, I think they were county, had looked up on the old books, looked into old laws, and they were going around and starting to collect old taxes that they'd never collected before. And they were going door to door to businesses. And some of this is because the housing prices have started to fall. And so they know they're not going to get those bigger taxes from the property tax, but they've already spent all the money that they thought they were going to get this year. So it didn't come in, but they've already spent it. So now they've got to figure out how to fill the loss. So they went through the books and they're like, hey, we can go threaten small business owners with this. It's called like, oh God, what's it called? Something about your annual inventory tax or something. But so if it's a used car that you under $5,000, you don't have to sell, you don't have to pay tax. But if you sell a used item other than a car, you have to pay tax on it, apparently.
Like we're talking about consignment and antiques and shit, right? Like the stuff that you even deal with.
None of this makes sense at all. But they're basically like these two little women. They have no authority. They're like secretaries that work at some office in the county, are going around door to door and threatening small businesses with reporting and pay, and they better pay their whatever. Like, this is how bizarre and desperate things are because of exactly what you're talking about. So it's not just Texas, and it's happening everywhere. And it
can't just be right. It's only logical that it's not. It's of course that's what raising property values. Or at least one of the schemes. Who knows if there are other concocted ones elsewhere that somebody put together? But I can
But
tell
this
you
has to be a domino falling kind of thing.
well, the school system's done. There's nothing funding it, clearly.
Right.
It's not performing. I don't know what happens. Like Russia's got a good program going. They do with raising families and stuff, and at least trying to create a new nuclear family kind of movement. Have you seen, like, after you have 4 kids, you got a paid off house. Go get a house. First kid you have, 25% of the house is paid off. Second kid, 50% of the house is paid off, and so on until the house is paid off after 4 kids. Yeah. That's a pretty good program. If you want to have some sort of enlistment of a revival toward, stability and sanity,
rebuilding your country. Yeah.
We first need to get people back into the houses. So that's phase 1. These houses are going to collapse in value so dramatically. It's not, I don't even know this time around with this amount of fraud. I think somebody in the chat, by the way, they said the guy's name when it was scrolling just now. I think I just saw it out of the corner. Mitch something. Mitch Wexler. Is that what I think? That's the lawyer's name. The guy that filed the lawsuit. In other words, Lisa.
You know who Wexler is?
Not Lex Wexner. Wexner, not Wexler.
Okay, I think that's not the same person.
Les Wexner is the evil overlord.
I hope that's not the same person.
No, I do think that's that guy's name. Quite frankly, I was doing some quick keyword search and trying to find it. So maybe that's even further if anybody's interested. But yeah, look out for that. To be a friggin' Vexler. There it is. That is exactly what it is. Not Wexler. Vexler.
There we go. That's better. No W.
But that is not nothing. And it might be part of also, go back to Cliff High's data, silver is going to rise, what, to $1,000 by June?
600 is what he was always saying.
600 by June?
I don't know. When?
So... Well, that's the case. And let's say, houses come down 400%. I don't know how far they can come down. Like it's going to be ruinous for the people that think they've got their equity in them. But you're going to be able to take that visual of, oh, I can buy a house with a stack of silver. Like just like the whole thing in the reports talked about going back to the 20s, and this would be the new time where you could buy a house with a stack of silver.
Yeah.
It's probably coming quick.
I'm ready.
Well, yeah, I said I was ready before, but man, it's just been a blitz. It's exhausting. It's exhausting right now.
It is exhausting, and I think everybody's kind of feeling it. I know the last few days I've been just mentally and emotionally pretty heavy. But there were some crazy things. Going back to the postal thing, we put going postal, and I wanted to point some people. We're looking at the end of January kind of thing, but you had shared. I've got Basent's video up, so I'll do that first, and then we'll share the tweet that you sent me that was sent out, notice sent out by the U.S. Postal Service, and everybody can kind of we'll kind of tie it all together.
Millions more will take home bigger paychecks every month this year. The president wants to get this money into the hands of the American people as soon as possible. That's why I am proud to break the news here today that this year's tax season will begin on January 26th, one of its earliest starts in more than a decade. After this date, most of the benefits of the president's bill will begin to materialize, presenting a major tailwind for our economy in 2026.
Why is
millions more
that
will take home
earliest date in 10 years?
Better, you should be ashamed.
Date. Like that makes no sense to me.
What does that mean? Like the tax season didn't tax season immediately begin on January 1st? I just didn't.
That was my understanding, but
I didn't understand the context of the headline even because I didn't know what I didn't really, I guess, have a place for the old tax season to begin. Is it Groundhog's Day? Is that when they usually did it?
It's my understanding that you file for all the years that I've filed. It's January 1 to December 31st. So
Yeah. So they're in other words, they're just saying like,
but then for him to say it's the earliest in 10 years, but he's saying it actually doesn't start till
filing is what he's saying, not the taxable year. I don't think is what he's saying. I think he's saying the filing date. Perhaps there's been a limitation. Like, I don't know if we're just speaking out of turn. We're looking like dummies right now because there's somebody like, well, you guys know you can't ever file before February 1st or like whatever the hell. I don't know.
And clearly a tax dummy. Yeah. So if anyone has some,
well, I'm not necessarily a tax dummy, but I don't know those factoids like, oh, you can or can't file before a certain date. Usually I have to wait until my forms get to me. And then once all my forms get to me, I immediately file. I don't ever lock into place.
Wouldn't think about it. Yeah. I guess I don't understand what he's talking about. The earliest filing. Unless they're talking about like, because it's a new year, January 26th, and then you would maybe they usually like, you would be filing like, oh, I had this much activity the first month of January. So instead of waiting till the 30th, you would be able to file your new information on the 26th or change your information. It just really doesn't make sense to me. So, but the reason that I thought that was significant was it's talking about the 26th. And then
it is. And I just clarified what it really means.
Okay. What'd you get?
Companies typically have to have all of the deadline for having their filing documents for the IRS, for IRS's records, meaning they've dispersed like their W-2s and shit to their employees. The filing deadline for that has traditionally been January 31st. Now that filing deadline is 5 days earlier, January 26th. So they're making it to where you can file your taxes essentially earlier de facto because your company is now required to have your documents in your hand earlier.
Interesting. So
that's what it really means. It's nothing like groundbreaking. It doesn't seem.
But
why the 5 days? Why the 5 days?
But why? Why is that? Other than, and then you had sent a tweet about that was a
so to contextualize this, it seems on message boards, on Reddit threads, before I even shared this with Lisa and Josh today, I kind of looked into this because you never know like what is AI and what's not, and so I always look into this kind of stuff pretty well, at least with a cursory examination. Let's say I spent 10 minutes trying to search around to see other instances of what Lisa's about to show. And it does look like that in Facebook groups and Reddit threads and message boards, people that are part of the USPS have gotten these similar letters sent to them on January 5th in the 6th and whenever their last work day was.
Yeah.
So now it's making its way to the internet, and it's a letter saying that, in essence, to paraphrase it, as a reminder, it's a friendly reminder leaflet. That's how it's phrased. Truly, it's like, oh, just as a reminder, just in case that you need to present photo identification and badge documentation that you are a worker of the USPS, that might, for whatever reason occur, like a hurricane or civil unrest, or they list all of these really egregious things. Just remember that you have to have this letter with you when somebody approaches you, and your ID. It gives a list of kind of like personal identification information that Postal Service workers might have to present to an official military authority if the occasion were to arise. Kind of a weird thing to send out is all it was. I think your average USPS worker probably is like, what the fuck is this? They got these things apparently similarly before COVID broke out a few weeks before. Mm-hmm. So there's that corollary people are drawing. What are we talking about? This is the whole thing. The USPS part of the steganography too, because Lisa, as everybody recalls, she follows that Empire State Building thread. The Empire State Building's address was the original place where the United States Postal Service was founded before the Empire State Building was built on the same parcel of land. That's where the USPS originated. And it's been part of this weird signaling and messaging that we've uncovered, that the Empire State Building Twitter account, because it lines up with weird stuff with eclipses and our time rituals that we were looking at over the summer. There's VSTEG there for sure. And in addition to all of this, there's the whole thing with the driving force in the United States. I've wondered, are they doing away with those old units? You know, because we were talking about in our texting thread today, the old EVVs, the Grumman EVVs, the vehicles the U.S. Postal Service has been using for a long time, and they're retiring them.
The ESB is ready to keep you warm, is what it says.
ESB is a beer, extra special bitter is what that stands for.
Empire State Building, ESB. It's also EBS. If you think about EBS, ready to keep you warm.
Yeah.
ESB.
Yeah. It is also a variety of beer that's pretty good. ESB.
Getting ready to sleep 58 minutes ago.
Huh.
Did we pass the test? Peacock. Oh, look who's in that picture.
Is that Norm Macdonald in the middle? Who is that?
It looks like him, doesn't it?
Click on it. See if you can enlarge that. Yeah. Or is that the Is there a Kardashian there? Oh, is that?
She looks like a Kardashian. That looks like Norm. And look, that looks like Superman guy. What's his name? The Superman guy. I don't know.
Who's tagged in the photo? They have to have tagged him, probably. Or they just tagged Peacock. Peacock like NBC?
I guess.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Meet me at the turret, and a new season of The Traitors US arrives tonight, only on Peacock.
Weird.
3 hours ago. That's interesting.
Yes.
Are we going to find out who the traitors are?
See, yeah, this is kind of bizarre, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's something.
And there's the EBS. They reposted it 5 hours ago. So it was originally posted on December 31st when it's tagged in on their pin, but they reposted it 5 hours ago, the EBS tonight. And then this, did we pass the test? Peacock. And Peacock is Meet Me in the Turret. A new season of The Traitors arrives tonight, only on Peacock.
In the turret.
Getting ready for sleep.
So yeah, something's going on with
Something's going down.
the Postal Service at the heart of it. So I don't know if it's going to have anything to do with some sort of cleanup operation, how easy the U.S. Postal Service is to infiltrate. I've wondered sometimes as like, oh, if you're just going to act like a driver, just like drive around one of those vehicles on the auspice that you're a driver, how easy would it be to obtain a uniform and one of those cars? You can buy them from reconditioning shops. They sell them. All the ones that were decommissioned a long time ago, there's a market for them. You'll look it up. They're auctions that you can go buy them. So I've always wondered, like, who's the market for those? I don't see anybody driving them around, other than if they're putting stickers back on the side of them and dressing up like you're a USPS driver. And for what? Distribution network. It's a really good cover for a distribution network. I was always thinking. So one of the reasons that I think it's meaningful that they're replacing the fleet this year, all throughout 2026, they're replacing the fleet of those old EVVs with those new ones.
Yeah.
Is that by the end of the year, you should be able to just visually tell what is and isn't a real USPS driver, because there is no secondary market for those new ones. You see what I mean? You see the point?
Yeah.
That you're in antiques, right? That there's a secondary market at all that you can buy these. Just think about it. That you can buy a USPS vehicle. What else would you use it for? What else have you seen anybody else use it for? But there is a buying market for them. There are auction houses. There are people that sell them. You can buy them from reconditioning yards.
Yeah. Wasn't that because they were like Jeeps and stuff, though?
No, they're terrible vehicles for that. They're just,
Hmm.
they're even terrible gas mileage. There's really honestly no other reason to buy one other than to con somebody into believing that you are a delivery driver, you know?
So if you haven't watched The Postman with Kevin Costner, go watch it, because he's like a post-apocalypse of the United States, and then he finds a dead postman and he puts his clothes on, and then he goes around and tricks communities to thinking he's a postman, but it actually like rebuilds the United States by rebuilding the system.
Really? There's a movie about this.
Yes, dude, go watch
No,
it.
I've never seen it. That's crazy though. So
You gotta have like 3 hours, but yeah,
you know,
it's a long movie.
movies canvas stuff like this. So voila. I think that there's something like that happening. And honestly, this letter that we just are talking about, it may be something just as inane as ICE might be going and cleaning up the fake ones. And if you're a real one, you'll have your ID, you'll have your letter, you'll have your badge.
Well,
and
also
you'll present
remember
it,
that if the banks go down and we're getting ready to use our postal service as our banking system through the Treasury, and we need it to be trusted, then that needs to be,
you gotta clean that shit up.
It has to be cleaned up. They have to have the right. And a lot of people, I met with a lady, she came and her daughter bought my dining room table when we moved. And she's a supervisor over like the whole, like a quarter of the United States or whatever. And so I was asking her all these questions. I probably sounded a little suspicious, but asking her lots of questions about why there are passport stations now all of a sudden in all the U.S. postal things, and can they scan your fingerprints there? And they didn't used to be able to do that. And when did that happen? Of course, all during COVID, all AC or DC. I don't know what we're going to call it during COVID. But that got put in the same time the ITMs got put in the banks, the same time. So all these systems changes happened, because we can still get money orders at the bank. We've all forgotten this, but our U.S. Postal Service was our original banking system before the central banks.
Mm-hmm.
It was the bank, and it can be the bank again. And we could use
like the postal. It was the satellite for the bank. It wasn't the actual bank. It was the operable satellite arm of the bank.
Right. But if you think about how blockchain works, you have an address, you have a public address, and you have a private key. That would be an easy transition for most Americans to say, you're going to have a U.S. postal app, and that's going to be your blockchain. That's going to be your blockchain postal. You're going to have your public address, and that's how you can receive your money, your funds from your U.S. Treasury bills, whatever we're going to end up calling them, the new money for America once we get rid of our dirty Fed notes that are being destroyed right now. And then you have your private key, from the post office, and don't give anybody your private key. And you get your money out that way, and you can move your money around. But your public key, your public address, is where people can send you your money. Like, it's an easy way for most Americans to understand how to send and receive rainbow money. Exactly, Tom.
Yep.
So we could
buy constitutional silver. Buy constitutional silver.
That's right.
That's what I've been doing. I was just buying junk silver. It's easier to afford
if you can find it. Even in the antique malls and thrift stores, and not thrift stores, but antique malls. You used to be able to go, and there would be somebody would have a shelf of coins or whatever. Like, they're pretty much cleaned out.
Well,
I don't really have them.
That's what's great about living amongst the rednecks. They're all cashing in right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm buying. Buying, baby.
I would.
There's plenty where I'm at least for now. And
that's good.
There are other places nearby. I'm hearing, I just don't think the business owners are very savvy with arbitrage. But yeah, like 20 miles away, the silver shops are like, nothing's for sale. We've put it in the vault. It's just too uncertain. We're not selling. And it's like, then you're not buying either. So
Interesting.
Because their excuses, well, if we don't have any coming in, then we can't sell. So it's like, well, how great of a business are you if you're not going and buying it then? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
At least for yourself, it's a hedge against
The future.
everything
Yeah.
to just go buy more right now. It's ridiculous how some shops look like they're operating, but no, I've got a few options yet.
That's good.
But
You're young.
what?
I said you're young. You still have a lot of time.
Maybe 40 this year.
Dude, that's still young.
Still got to have kids.
Yeah. I know you need to get on it,
I know.
by the way.
I know. If silver is truly going to $500, I can get on it. I can step away from work and
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll
do more content.
Oh no, not if you have kids, you won't.
Sure, I will. I'll just be on location.
Then you'll have
It'll be on location.
no time at all.
So transitioning kind of into silver here, though. Like everybody knows, kind of the through line of Oz is the silver suppression. It shares a lot of that with a lot of the beats that the Road to Ruta comics hit on, because obviously Road to Ruta hides a lot of Oz ritual inside of itself. So it's all kind of part of that. There's a lot of different examples that I can even share as it relates to other ways it's showed up in popular media. That's where my content comes in. You just have to go watch it. There's a Space Jam video everybody should watch on my channel, on the Skullcap SaVant V-Cypher community channel over on Rumble. That's where you can find all my shit. There was a video then featuring V-Steg from that movie where Don Cheadle's character ballooned up into the character of Oz. Oh, how dare you disturb? He was like an AI. In fact, he was an AI controlling a computer. They were trapped inside of a computer. It was a whole thing. It was in the plot of the movie. And he becomes the great and powerful wizard of Oz. But it was interesting because he was silver. You know, the big head in the scene? He becomes that.
Okay.
He morphs into it. And it's a big silver kind of fiery moment. And then he splits himself and copies himself into a bajillion Don Cheadles. And if you follow the dialogue of what's going on in the scene, it's the derivative market is what they're illustrating in the scene in the computer. They're inside the computer, you know, like, so there's shit like that that's all over my work, and it matches up with these rituals that we go through to, they think, keep our minds suppressed from knowing this stuff for all time. But what I wanted to get into was some of the stuff, even as we go into the Super Bowl, we were talking about key ritual season for a lot of this stuff to come out. You've got numerology at play. You've got symbolism at play. You've got archetypes at play. That's why sports are so great at kind of guiding the flow of our attention as a population, because if you think about it, even the people in the stadium, they're guiding all of their manifestation energy down into the result of a lion character fighting a bear character on the field. And we're like, what does it mean? It means nothing other than the symbolism that, you know, is being cast on your mind. And so it's always interesting to see how things at play. Even as Lisa, a few months ago, and she and I talked about with the baseball World Series.
Yeah,
we were showing a little bit of that. We were even talking about Toronto's pretty close to Buffalo. It makes sense that they're in the World Series. But Brian Wu, number 22. Remember, V is the 22nd letter of the alphabet for all you guys out there. It's why 22 matters as a number. To the Steganography rituals that, again, are an attempt to guide your attention in a different direction. The Seattle Wu. Seattle's the Emerald City. Oz resides in the Emerald City. You know, that's just kind of the colloquialism, by the way, for people uninitiated. It's just called the Emerald City. It's the Evergreen State, and Seattle's the Emerald City.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that corollary there. If you look at Freemasonry too, you have Seattle on the 47th parallel. There's 47 degrees in the Freemason compass. And there's all that shit there too. You can get really deep.
Elon, that his parents were supposedly emerald miners from South Africa.
Yeah. So
forget all that.
It's interesting because I think it's on the same parallel as the Keystone, the Kensington Runestone in Minnesota. Pennsylvania is the Keystone State. You've got the Kensington Runestone in Minnesota. You have the Emerald City, and all. You have all these different interplaying themes within the work. But we're isolating Buffalo and Seattle specifically. Buffalo, for those that want to go back and look at what Lisa have covered before with this, Buffalo is significant to the whole Trump administration by way of the assassination attempt back last year in July of 24 in Butler, Pennsylvania, in the Keystone State, right? The Keystone State's been a ritual in the VSTEG work. Again, that's being brought about with the kayfabe and all this stuff. And within the context of that, go back in my work from that time, and you'll see there's a lot of other interesting stuff going on, but namely in which the assassin was from Buffalo. The one that they killed in the audience, the would-be assassin that actually died. There was a guy that they said died in the audience. And in my opinion, he was probably the real assassin, not the kid on the roof and not all that fucking kayfabe around it. But they sniped his ass before he had a chance to kill the president. And then they did the whole ritual of the blood and the V across his fucking cheek. Wow. I mean, it was so rife with VSTEG. I was just laughing. And then at the RNC that year, you and I were in communication back then. I was starting to you were starting to get it, like, whoa, this is crazy, right? And then the RNC happens, and I was starting to share with you 22 and 88. 88 for the time rituals, 22 for V. And all of a sudden, Trump's support fund, text his support fund for his campaign. He survived the assassination attempt, and he's there with the bandage on the ear. Text 880022. And all of a sudden, the first thing that happens when he goes up on stage, you have Hulkamania to cement that this is kayfabe. And then you also have the whole ritual on stage to honor the fallen Buffalo firefighter that died in the line of duty. Buffalo. Wow. This is all going back to Ingersoll Lockwood. People have seen the Ingersoll Lockwood work with the Baron Trump, last president, and he was kind of a contemporary is the word of the World's Fair. They're in Buffalo that year. There's a lot of stuff from Trump's campaigning with gold and how he was going to bring back the World's Fair. He survived an assassination attempt where President McKinley, who garnered the Silver Sherman Act and the Gold Standard Act, by the way, and was no friend of the central bankers, had to go. He did not survive his assassination attempt at the World's Fair in Buffalo. Lisa and I were even talking before the show. Why is it that even the silver rounds that aren't denominated with U.S. face value coinage, why are they buffaloes? You have gold 1 ounce silver round buffaloes, official U.S. buffaloes, as they call them, with an Indian head on one side and a buffalo on the other. You have those in gold. Why is this? So, Lisa, you pulled up some images there where we're going to lead into here, where we're going with this whole Buffalo and Emerald City thing. The NFL playoffs are about to start. The games haven't happened yet, but I'm starting to play around with the idea. We'll see how the first week goes, but that you might see a Buffalo Bills and Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl for the reasons of if silver suppression's truly going to end. So if silver suppression is going to end this year, it would make sense for these two teams to get there within the ritual context of it, even going to the regular season with these weird alternative jerseys that the NFL pinned on some of the teams. I think these are called the rivalry series jerseys. Buffalo has a quarterback who's number 17, like all of the Q lore, which is kind of tied in with a lot of the, the last 8 years worth of steganography that ties into it too. And given everything I was just telling you, just to scratch the surface about why Buffalo is significant in the grand scheme of the whole banking ritual of it all, you have Seattle, who also had a rivalry jersey, where they changed their numbers from being the standard, like white ones to green for Emerald City.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting that their quarterback is number 14, which if you were to convert from gematria, you would get a value of 14 if you typed in Oz. Oz actually equals 14 and its inverse 41 in English ordinal and in the standard English reduction ciphers. So there's something cooking here, maybe. This is how I usually did the work back then when I was in it every day and I had time to analyze it. This is a rough analysis, guys. I don't have the time I did when I was doing those videos. I promise I would if I did. But it's a guide for you to help see like, what's at play here? If something hitches with these teams, because in my opinion, Seattle also represents the secret space tech. I talked about that in my year zero work too, Lisa. We were just talking about year zero today. But Seattle's where all the defense contractors congregate in terms of.
Well, I think that didn't that all go to Alabama though this year?
Manufacturing did, but Seattle's always kind of like the capital city of the engineering piece of it. It's the communication arm with Japan. Japan and Seattle are sister cities.
Okay.
And Seattle, while the city or the King County, really the county that Seattle's in, is really the place where the CCP is captured. I don't think China has totally gotten its hands on, let's call it the defense contract side of things. But that's part of one of these poker chips that we're seeing with the UFOs coming out, and Seattle kind of represents this. You look, I was looking at even, you go look at the side profile of a B-22 bomber, a Spirit bomber. Mm-hmm. It looks like a hawk. They designed it after a hawk, after a Seahawk. And so there's steganography right in the logo of the Seahawk's head because it looks exactly like the front of a B-22 bomber. Wow. It's funny. It's all right there if you look at it the right way. But you might be seeing, again, with all the UFO stuff, if you think about it like I think about the rituals of sports, I think there is a psychological effect with these symbols. Again, it's like reverse remote viewing. The symbols have preordained meaning, whether it's the meaning that you want to ascribe to it or not. It's being downloaded into you by you caring so much about it, right? Whatever these symbols are broadcasting at you, the V included.
Well, and I kept having a dream about silver, and that I knew it had to do with silver, and silver like either being like what we needed, it to be, or what I wanted it to be, maybe. But it was a significant thing about silver, but it kept being buffalo. And then, but I kept forgetting what I was supposed to remember. And so finally I'd like made myself, like I was talking to myself, kind of like a lucid dreaming thing or a whatever. So I was like, what am I going to do to remember the part I'm supposed to remember? And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing with my hand because I knew I had to remember 4-1. And so I started doing that when I would dream about it. And I knew I had to remember buffalo. And then I would go 4-1. And so when we were talking before the show started, and you said, because 41 or 14 is Oz. Yeah. And when we were talking about the Buffalo Bills, and I said, oh, well, could that be because then we're going to have the silver certificates, the silver bills.
Oh, yeah, there's that too, isn't there? Because you call a physical form of a note a bill. Yeah. Uh-huh.
It could be. I don't know. But that's where the 4-1 made sense to me with the Buffaloes finally. Because I'm like, what was this 4-1 thing? 4-1. So I don't know.
Well, I was playing around with some of the other themes. And guys, this is kind of how it works, at least in my mind. And I've been accurate, by the way. I've correctly called 3 Super Bowls ahead of the playoffs. I did it once at the beginning of the season, in fact, when Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers. They were like one of the long shots to win it. Oh, he's going to retire. And I was like, oh, well, he just went to the Buccaneers. he's going to win the Super Bowl this year. Super Bowl 55 is what that one was. It was V-Steg Super Bowl. And Tom Brady, I was already looking into for all sorts of different reasons. He named his daughter Vivi for some reason, you know, like, and previous to him going to the Buccaneers. And it was the first Super Bowl that if the Buccaneers made it, it would have been a home game. It was their home stadium that it was hosted in. The Buccaneers are Templars. I've talked to you about the Jolly Roger, right?
Yeah.
In the Templar way of thinking, it seems they think that those are Jesus Christ's bones that they've got in an ossuary box, and that's how the bones are placed. That's what your Jolly Roger is. They know the truth about the Pentecost, the lies of the Catholic Church, right? It's a fuck you to the Catholic Church is what the Jolly Roger is. But it's a Templar sigil. And so I used all of the context. If you go watch those videos, these were popular videos. The Super Bowl ones were always, they got a lot of viewership because it's the zeitgeist, you know, people are crazy about the ritual of the rigged sports. But I've done it a few different times where I've correctly called the participants and the winner. And so just full disclosure, I don't bet either. I don't gamble on it. Probably could have made some money if I did, honestly. It's just, but I just don't want it. I didn't want the karma of it. Even then, you know, it's just like, maybe I'm foolish for that.
Well, all you have to do is go read the contracts. I mean, we all learned that with the Mike Tyson thing, and now you're seeing the Jake Paul thing and all those. It's all preset contracts. It's all a show. It's all the kayfabe, you know.
Practiced. They do practice all week. Closed practice. Can't film practice for some reason. So anyhow, that's all I'm saying with this, and it does seem to line up. But look at who the Bills could possibly play. If you look at the bracket, the Chargers are in the Super Bowl. Why is that?
The credit card Chargers.
Well, that could be the case. But what I'm thinking though, Lisa, you look at their logo. Their logo matters most. It's a lightning bolt.
Oh, well, lightning,
Tesla, Buffalo, the hydroelectric. Buffalo is a very important city to Tesla too, guys. Silver, conductivity, buffaloes, silver rounds. There's a whole story of the 1800s that we're gonna, have to get back to. You got to look up the Silver-Sherman Act to really understand the context of McKinley within all this stuff and what he was doing to revalue constitutional money in that way to a standard. Samuel Untermeyer. I've told you guys this guy's name before. Samuel Untermeyer, one of the most consequential Jews in history that nobody really seems to know about. He was in the middle of trying to prosecute McKinley. He broke up the money trusts. And I'm of the mind, by the way, I think the jury is still out on who JP Morgan really is. But Tesla is all part of this whole thing with JP Morgan, even with the money trusts. That's the whole thing with Tesla. Buffalo, Chargers. So what if Buffalo, therefore, plays the Chargers and beats them in the on their way to the Super Bowl? It's just, you see how things can play out via the ritual and how you decode them if they do that way. And you kind of start to match the steganography that you find elsewhere and kind of start to see the relief of the picture that's playing out. So I haven't done hours and hours of that like I used to, but the pieces are there for it to play out that kind of way, So I don't know.
Very interesting.
Oz and the silver rig. It always seems to show. I've showed on my channel too that the Road to Ruta factored into, I think, Super Bowl 54's halftime show in a very, very blatant way.
Yeah.
Very blatant. It's one where
Super Bowl 60 is going to be February 8th,
60
right?
This year.
Okay.
And you said some interesting things about its location. So it's hosted in San Francisco, the Gold Rush State, the 49ers Stadium, the Gold 49ers. But you said something interesting about Levi's Stadium.
Yeah, so it's Levi's Stadium. And I had just seen, random death scroll or whatever, doom scroll, whatever they call it. They had just found or auctioned one of the oldest wearable pairs of Levi's that are riveted. It's important where the rivet is because they stopped putting the rivet in the crotch because people were getting burned campfires,
Yeah.
but in a gold mine. They were found in a gold mine, and they were auctioned off recently.
In a gold mine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was this week. That story.
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't probably this week. It's been like over the holiday blur,
Okay.
over Ghost Week. They've been calling it Ghost Week, from Christmas to from Christmas to New Year's time, and this kind of
Ghost Week.
Ghost Week,
Ominous.
what they've been calling it.
The liminal space of Ghost Week in between. People are just kind of wandering around. They're like,
Yeah. Everybody's a little, toxified with alcohol and sugar and family trauma.
Yeah.
And, but
well, what do you think? What do you think it all plays out? This is our first
well,
show.
there is a physical delivery due the end of this month. I looked it up. I watch all of Bix's things, and he said it wasn't until March, but I grokked it up, and Grok said there was a physical delivery.
Can Grok be trusted? Does
I
Grok
don't
know something Bix does not?
I probably should trust Bix more, and I may have misunderstood Bix, but they said there was a physical delivery the end of January, which would make sense why that, all this. Why are they making them turn their papers in to make sure that people have their filing stuff by the 26th, so that, because all the shit's going to go down on the 31st. Is the debt going to be refinanced or unable to be refinanced, or will all that go away, for the U.S. by the 31st?
Well, I told you too, the Batman coins are supposed to ship on the 26th.
Yeah.
The orders will be fulfilled on the 19th. So it's 119. There's your 9/11.
I hope it's not. I hope it's tracked for you. But I will tell you, I have never had a USPS insurance honor their contract. Like, if how they give you the $100 whatever. Yeah. I've never had a insurance claim fulfilled.
I'm pretty sure that Batman coin means something. The universe is going to get it here.
It is coincidental that that's happening on.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the Batman is so key to these.
Yeah, to all of that.
Vigilante justice, overcoming the mind. Because Batman, all he fights is his own mind via the mind tricks of his nemesises.
Well, and we saw Melania come out New Year's Eve in her silver dress. We know her dresses are always a calm. And they came out to the Hi-Yo silver,
Hi-Ho silver. Yeah. At the gala. So she walked out with Trump in a silver dress to the entrance music, basically. Just like in a WWE match, you have your entrance music. Yeah. And it was the Lone Ranger theme song, right?
Yes, it's William Tell's Overture or whatever is the true name of it. But
so that is always significant. And then my last parting thing I'll say to you is, don't trust Grok too much, because he might be our masquerading Asian guy telling everybody fake silver stories. Masquerading.
But it could also be causing us all to manifest positive things. And they understand, if the looshing is that powerful, that they do mass FFs to scare people, to capture energy, then what if the good guys are doing the same thing with the Asian guy and getting us to manifest?
Somebody has sway to insert it right into your recommendation engine without having to have it having scored well at all. It could be a channel with 4 subscribers with 10 views, and there it is in my feed with Asian guy. I don't know how many channels Asian guy has, but it's like 85% true information too. That's what's so weird about it.
And he's been planning this for quite some time, apparently, because his dates are off. Like, it happened in the future or the past or whatever. But
well, that's why I just think it's a query engine. It's a large language model just outputting a new report every day that's maybe even being prompted by somebody. In the large language model, it gets data. I can't even at the dealership, Lisa, try and sell car with the AI scheduler. It's terrible. It'll say, tomorrow's Friday the 9th, right?
Oh.
It'll be like, see you on Friday the 11th. And the customer will be like, Friday the 11th, when is that? There's no Friday the 11th until June, you know?
Yeah.
See you on January, Friday 11th. It's just, it's really retarded when it comes to like timelines and stuff. So if
it makes sense,
it's kind of indicative of that to me, because I've seen it in action just be stupid to people.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense. I think it's more about like it has pieces or stories that somewhere in the story, depending on which one applies to you, there's something in it that sounds like truth to you. And so then the other parts will resonate. You'll believe in the other parts because part of that story sounds like truth to you. Like you have enough information about, well, I know this part is true, or I believe that part to be true. So I will ascribe or believe that the rest of that's going to be true as well. And that's how then the manifestation and how many, there's not very many people that have silver, but if all of us do, it only took 3% for the Civil War to change.
Oh, I was so stoked. I got
America.
One of the 23-year-old kids that I've been harping on him just to buy it ever since like $35. I finally got him to buy it $75. And his girlfriend went and spent thousands this weekend on it. Her parents ended up being silver stackers. So they're like, you want to go buy silver? We'll go buy some with you. We bought silver in a while. It was like a huge family outing. I was like, fuck yeah. Because it was
maybe the silver stackers.
Like, that's the battle. You got to get as many people.
Silver warriors,
yeah.
Save America, save the world.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, anyway, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, the year will not prevent us from talking too infrequently, but
no, we're gonna have a great year.
Yeah, lots to do, lots to
time for silver to shine. Yeah. Yep. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. Tomorrow is happy hour again, so hopefully Westwood has recovered from his winter meetup, and we'll all have a great happy hour. Thanks again, Ben, for joining us. Great to see you back. Take care, guys.